Good morning, everybody. Another episode of the Keep Going podcast, Athletes Shining a Light on Mental Health. Super excited. We got some Illinois representation or Wisconsin or state line, whatever you want to call it. Emma, how is your holiday season going?
Oh, wonderful. I mean, I couldn't be more grateful for just getting quality time with family and friends. Nothing better. So definitely loving it, soaking up this little void that we're going to have before the New Year's. Kind of not sure what day it is. And then, you get back to the grind. But I feel like every day I'm always just trying to be productive. So, yeah. How
Well, I
about you
love
guys?
it. Everything is good. Tell me your favorite gift over the holidays or the favorite gift that you gave to somebody else.
Ooh, tough. Um, My favorite gift, I think I'm a big shoe person, so I got a new pair of it's called Allbirds. I don't know if you're familiar with the
Hmm.
brand. So
Yep.
I got a new pair of Allbirds and they got a little bit of a turf bottom, so I get to wear them to our first team indoor turf tournament this January. So they're white with little accent of red. That was one of the four pairs of shoes I got. So I was pretty stoked about that.
I love that. So you're a sneakerhead for sure.
Yes.
Like a lot of athletes and coaches. I know my brother, we'll talk about him probably at some point, but
Yeah.
he's always looking for the next pair of awesome coaching shoes. So I can definitely relate there. Dave, what's going
Hmm.
on with you, man? Where are you coming out of?
Not too much coming out of Colorado today. I'm excited to be back on the pod. Missed last week, but yeah, ready for this episode.
Jackie, you're also not in the car. Where are you coming out? It's not Nashville. You wish you were in Nashville, though.
Yeah, no, maybe next week I'll go there. No, I'm in I'm in New York right now with Jules' side of the family. I'm bouncing between Massachusetts, New York, and Maine right now. So next week I'll be in one of those three. It's gonna be a wild card.
No, I love it though. That's what we do here, and it's actually weird being at my desk today. Like everyone always sees me on the move too, so it's odd, but we're gonna just roll with it. But
Yeah,
Emma,
Pat,
outside of
what
yeah, go
did
ahead,
Ashton
Jackie.
get you? What Ashton get you for Christmas?
I mean, you're looking at it, right? Like if you're on the YouTube, shameless plug for the YouTube. I actually have a mic now. This is kind of odd. I'm actually not in my car, so we've come a long way going into season four. This is the big one, just podcast studio. Just my wife doing my wife things. She's always setting me up for things I love and enjoy. So that's all good. Emma, I had to say one thing real quick. If we're doing the whole Oshkosh podcast thing, I do have some gear that I have in front of me that I was gonna wear.
Oh,
It's really hot in the office, so I'm not gonna wear
yeah,
it, but I had to shout out the YouTube again that we got the Oshkosh representation.
that's
Talk to
awesome.
me about your playing career, girl. Like, tell me about softball at Oshkosh.
Oh, softball at Oshkosh was amazing. So I was able to play 3 years there. I transferred in my sophomore year of college. Just found a better fit. It was kind of funny. Scott Beyer, who's still the head coach there, he didn't think he'd hear back from me again because actually he was in my top three schools when I was getting down to my selection. And I had declined going there my freshman year. And we had a great relationship, and just academically and athletically, it wasn't the right fit where I was my freshman year. So I'd given him a call around May before my season had been done my freshman year, and he's like, "Emma Fionda?" He's like, "Never thought I'd hear from you again." And so it was a really cool kind of full circle getting to go back. Had to try out because he hadn't seen me in a year, and I was so fortunate that I was one of the few that had made it because he already had like a completely recruited roster, and so. I mean, talk about just total family buy-in and still some of my best friends to this day. It was the easiest transition that I could have asked for. And for anybody that's pursuing a sport and like if you love it in the slightest, I could not recommend more to people. Like go play at whatever level that works for you. Like just go do it. Like I had an immediate like 19 friends, even transferring that made it not seem like I was transferring because that's a big deal. Like you miss out on the entire transition and just meeting and socializing when coming in as a freshman. And so I was nervous about that and it was so easy. Like my teammates made it so easy. And I just love the Wisconsin culture. Honestly, if I could have stayed up there, I'm just such a family person. So coming back to be by my family was huge for me. So I loved it. I would do it all over again if I could.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. Obviously, myself and Dave, we were baseball guys. Jackie,
Hmm.
obviously, basketball. We went through the recruiting process, and it can be very overwhelming. We have a lot of parents, a lot of coaches, a lot of players that listen. You came out of Richmond, correct? Like the Burton area.
Yeah.
That's where you went to high school. My sister went
Yes.
there, believe it or not.
No way.
So she was a Rocket. Yeah, she's a little bit younger.
Hmm.
But I remember that small town culture. You're
Yeah.
a big time player. If you wouldn't mind, talk about kind of that small town feel in the recruiting process and the pros
Yeah.
and the cons of that.
Yeah. So, being from a small town where you're graduating classes under 200 kids and a lot
Go
of
Rockets, like I said, go Rockets.
yeah, totally. Um, like it was just weird. A lot of my friends were talking about their graduating classes being 800 to 1,000 kids, and I'm like, that's my high school. What? Your
Yep,
graduation's how long? You went to like a university to graduate? Like my graduation, we all got up in the middle of it to give our moms roses. Like it was so
correct.
simple and quick, just because of the small class size. But with that, you don't realize how small you feel when you go away to college because you you were in such a small environment. So then going away, it's like, wow, I'm really a little fish in the pond, depending on the size that you decide on. So I actually, crazy enough, I visited over 25 schools with my dad in person. And so every time we had a tournament away, we would take the opportunity to like just go visit a school that I was like somewhat interested in. And it went from like being formal, like we would organize it, try to coordinate it with academics, and then it went to let's just go on an adventure and see what doors are open. So it was super cool, and it definitely I had to take into consideration like where I was coming from when I was starting to get narrowing down options. Actually, one of my favorite schools was Ohio State, and it just
The
had this,
Ohio State for the Bucks
yeah.
out there. Yep.
Yes. And the feel was like Richmond Burton. Like, I don't know. There's just certain sectors of the campus that just felt so homey. And I just couldn't get over the 8 hour drive.
Yeah.
It was too far. And my parents were like, we love you, but like realistically, we're not going to be able to come to a lot of your games. Because at that time I was like totally willing and like in discussion with the coach, like walking on and then seeing what could happen after that, just because I love the sport so much. And um, I was like, this isn't realistic for me. And so that's when I started to see what worked for me academically and athletically, and then was in a little smaller, distant ratio where I could still like be independent and blossom and not feel compelled to come home every weekend and allow myself to like grow. But at the same time, it not to be so close where it was in my backyard. So Oshkosh was like 2.5 hours. It was perfect and very easy ride. And just again, love the culture, love the people program, academics. So yeah, it was definitely a challenge. No matter where I went. My first school, I went to Carroll University in Waukesha,
Yeah,
Wisconsin.
Waukesha. We had two kids just commit there. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful school, great academics, and it just wasn't working for my academic pathway that I was taking. And so I just, even that, it was like 1,800 kids, and that still was big for me. Like I was
hmm
like, whoa, like
hmm
this is crazy. Now, by the end of my freshman year, I felt like I knew everybody, and I was like,
Right.
oh, I like new faces. I was like, I don't know if I like this.
Yeah.
And so Oshkosh was in that like 10 to 15,000 just because of commuters and things, where it was you were constantly meeting new people, but you still felt a small feel. And that's what I really loved.
Yeah, it's kind of cool in this case. Like I said, my brother was there for a year. My brother was going through a dark time during the time he was there. He was
Okay.
just off ulnar nerve surgery in his elbow. His
Mm,
velocity was way down. He pretty much knew this was going to be the end when he got there.
okay.
So, but the one thing he did tell me was going from Rockford to Oshkosh was like, holy crap! Like Rockford, our high school was almost bigger, right? I went to Elk Grove High School, right? And then
Okay. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
got to Oshkosh and it was bigger. Like they were out at
Hmm.
Kelly's and they were having a great time and
Yeah.
you know the deal. And they're doing all this
Totally.
stuff. And he liked that mix of being far away from home, but still being able to have my mom come out and watch him play, especially
Absolutely.
during those times. So I could definitely relate there. Here's a question I haven't asked, and if I've asked it, it hasn't been for like 100 episodes. Your parents during that process.
Hmm.
We have a lot of parents that listen. We have a lot of
Hmm.
parents that think they know what they're doing in the process. What
Sure.
did your parents do well? And what did your dad do during those 25 visits, right? That's incredible.
Yeah, it was so amazing. the support I continue to receive to this day is unmatched. I'm so fortunate for my parents. But during the whole process, what I loved just growing up and even through my sports, it was always my decision. And where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. My parents would give us direction, and helped us develop our own work ethic and drive. But it was, what does she want? And she's going to show what she wants. Like, we can't want it for her. This has got to be her decision. And so it was, my dad did a great job of putting things into perspective. Like when I visited um, so many schools, is this the distance that you'd be comfortable with? Does this have the program that you're looking at? What if you switch majors? Like, just things that maybe I wasn't thinking of so high level, and kind of looking at just what was immediately like, oh, this is cool, or oh, this is just something that was enamoring to me at the time, certain elements, but was bringing reality into the mix, but at the same time wasn't making any decisions for me. I think it's really important that you allow your child, because it is their decision at the end of the day. Like, crazy enough, these 18-year-olds are allowed to sign off on loans that are like an obscene amount of money depending on the academic or athletic offers that you get. And like, that's your name on that. This is your academic journey, and you have to be 110% in on whatever it is. It's your future. And so I love that my parents allowed for that to be 100% my decision, and challenged me to make like a pros and cons charts once I got down to like my top three schools. And then it was kind of funny. My mom and dad were like, "You're comparing your final school like a wedding dress. Like, you keep going back to it." And so like
Can
that's
relate to that. Can relate to that.
yeah. And so they're like, this it seems like the fit. And but that changes as you change too. And that's where, I know there's mixed feelings on the transfer portal, but I think it serves as a good thing in certain situations. And and that's what worked out for me after my freshman year, being able to transfer.
Well, thanks for explaining that. I think it's so pivotal.
Hmm.
Everyone's got their own journey. I see Jackie nodding down there. I'm gonna go to her. Obviously, D3 Hooper too went through the process with a lot of
Yeah.
schools out her way, so we can relate. So, Jackie, I'm going to you.
I just think it's so refreshing to hear when I hear parents just kind of like, not like almost putting your arm around the kid instead of like holding their hand and trying to walk through the process with them. I think you meet so many parents, and I see this in the club sports scene as well, that
Hmm.
want to be able to say like, my kid's going D1, my kid's playing pro. It's like, well, what does your kid want? Because I hear so many parents that talk about like what they want for like what they want to be able to say about their kid versus like, is my kid happy? What does this process look like for him? So it's refreshing to hear that that's how your parents helped you through that process, and it seems like it ended up being a really good experience for you too, which I'm happy to hear.
No,
Absolutely.
no doubt. And we're a D3 podcast, obviously. Like we love some good D3 action. So no, fantastic stuff. All right. So talk about as a player, right? Obviously at the Division 3 level, it comes with challenges. I mean, there's
Hmm.
no training tables, there's no scholarships, there's no
Hmm.
ESPN games, right? I've been
Yeah.
there as a player and as a coach. Talk to me about your playing experience from a mental health standpoint. What did you learn? What trials and tribulations you go through?
Yeah. So, you come in and you're not entirely used to being on a roster that's almost three teams deep. And so, working and grinding harder and outworking your teammates, your competition is definitely more challenging. With the way that I'm wired as a person, like, I was up for the challenge, but I can't say I would be completely lying to you if I said that that was the case my entire college journey. I hadn't experienced like my worst slump until I was a junior in college, and I really didn't know how to navigate it. So then when you're competing against, 17, 18 other players, and you have a limited opportunity and you have to either, capitalize on it or you're riding pine again, that can get really tough. And the way that you talk to yourself, the way that your teammates talk to you, depending on culture, the way that your coach may or may not communicate with you during those times is super crucial. So, overall, I'd say I had a pretty positive college experience for about half of it. And there's a lot of different elements that fed into it, and everybody's, I feel like, mental health is different. It's not a one size fits all. And what I need is not what you need, and so on. And you have to figure out kind of how do you get back to your balance? How are you going to treat yourself? Some people overlook their mental health for too long, and then they're suddenly in this really dark place and they don't know how to get out of it. But it's really important. I realized um, what my self-worth was during some of those lower times and not equating it to certain tangible kind of minutes or, all these things are very familiar to you guys. But that I was a person first versus my identity being tied to my sport, which was really hard when I graduated. So I'd say it definitely was a roller coaster, but I came out a stronger person at the end of all of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a wild assumption here. Like it shouldn't be groundbreaking here.
Yeah.
You're a better coach than you ever were a player.
Yeah.
And why is that?
I think it came from all of the experiences that I had throughout my entire softball career. I had a crazy volume of like different sides of the spectrum of coaches. Like you name it, that I became almost numb to some of the worst behaviors I've like ever seen. um, and now as a coach, I'm like righting the wrongs, and I'm developing relationships with my players first in this level of trust that I can push them in the right way without it being so hostile or what is what is your why at the end of the day? I'm like, who are you doing this for? Are you doing it for the kids or are you doing it for yourself? And I do it for them. I'm living through their successes now. And so seeing them successful like brings me so much joy. But I mean, I had my successes on the field. I'm not going to say I was the best player ever. I tried I definitely went to work. And I loved my experience and I had some huge highlights. My favorite season was my sophomore season. We had an amazing run in the Oshkosh program, and they continue to run since that day. And it was an amazing thing to be a part of. But definitely coaching has opened up just like a different part of like my heart and just like me spiritually. It's been so cool. And being able to spread my faith through the girls, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I'll stay there. I think the faith piece, I can just tell that's a big part of your life. Like, how did you get so in tune with your faith? Like, for people out there that are just starting their journey, or if you've been a part of this, journey for a long time, talk about your faith. Because me and Dave and Jackie obviously are all about that.
Yeah, totally. No, I love that so much. So I was raised really like traditionally Catholic, and so I went through all of that and kind of strayed away from my faith, just being so into sports and having so many things, which is no excuse. But my dad and my mom always instilled in us that everyone's like depiction or like what they view for time for God doesn't always have to be the same. And I said, yes, we might have a whole tournament this Sunday and we can't go to church, but that doesn't mean that you can't devote some time to God. Everybody's relationship is different and it doesn't have to be cookie cutter, but what you do need to do is carve out time. If you don't carve out time, that's on you. And so I loved that. And so no matter where I was or what I was doing, I made sure to carve out time. And I think I really tapped back into my faith when I left college. It was trickling there throughout. I had some close friends that, we would pray and things before games, or sometimes you'd find yourself like leaning towards God in the hard moments, but not in the others. And I'm like, we got to
Yeah,
balance this out.
asking instead of
hmm
rely. Yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. And when I left college, I had first time like seriously experienced what I would call depression. I was like, what? I'm not going back this fall? This is weird. And they say you shouldn't identify by your sport, but it's kind of hard when you've been doing it for 14, 15 years. I was doing it since I was 7. And that's all I knew. And it was, hi, my name's Fionda. I play for the UW Oshkosh softball team.
It's your
Like,
identity, right? It's who you
yeah,
are.
that's how
Yeah.
I introduced myself in every class. Like, that's just what it was. And so then I was like, all right, we're going in the corporate world. I have a 9 to 5 and this is life now. And then I had shoulder surgery and I was like, wow. And that's when I started leaning into God more. And I just, I made it a devotion. Every year I make a vision board with one of my best friends. Shout out to Tawny. She's amazing.
Got her up.
And she and I have been doing it for several years. And we just did ours for 2026. And that's just rooted me. There was a year that I went, I am going to seriously dedicate, and ground myself with God. And ever since then, it's been so cool how I've taken an approach of it just being gentle, like directing somebody towards something, but not forcing it upon them. I've never done that with anything in my life. And so I've seen the influence that it's had on my players, on some of my closest friends and family, and it's been just remarkable. And I just love seeing faith spread and seeing people really flourish, getting to tap into that part of their lives.
What a beautiful thing. He's always
Hmm.
moving, is what they tell me. He's always
Yes.
moving. Beautiful stuff. I'm gonna kick it over to Dave in a second. I got one more question,
Hmm.
and you might have just hit on it, but what's your keep going moment in all this? Obviously, the preface of our podcast, for 160 episodes,
Yeah,
what is your keep going moment?
man. Just in all of it, I feel my keep going moment is when I realized that I was more than the game. When I finally realized that I was more than the game and I was Emma Fionda and I started to do things separate. Like I don't coach to fill a void. I coach now because it's something that I've always been passionate about. And I love living through my girls' successes, but it's not to heal anymore. So when I was able to keep going and after I had my own identity away from the game, that changed my life forever.
Thank you. And thank you for all you do in the softball community.
Thank
It's
you.
not always like that here. I am here. I have softball girls come in for live here in
Mm.
about 45 minutes. Like I'm in this. It's
Uh-huh.
not always like that. So thank you for who you are. Big
Thank
Dave,
you.
it's all you, brother. Let's roll to the mailbag.
Yeah, going through your college experience, and as we all do, we go through ups and downs with our mental health and go through some struggles. What advice would you give someone that may be struggling with their self-confidence in their sport?
Yeah, so self-confidence, you cannot let somebody else determine that for you. So it's really important that you recognize your value and you establish and kind of sometimes you need to go back to the drawing board and kind of build up and recognize all of the amazing things that we bring to the table to refresh ourselves of our value because a lot of times, myself included, it was a learning lesson, but I see a lot of my athletes and a lot of my previous teammates that I played with, whether it was in travel ball or college, that their value was dictated by somebody else, not themselves. So I'd highly recommend refreshing yourself on who you are and what you bring to the table, and it really could give you significant clarity.
I like that answer a lot. Yeah, when I was going through my career, um, I struggled with the comparison game and looking
Oh
at
yeah.
stats every single game. And I basically drove myself out of a starting spot because I was like, oh, I'm not getting a hit this game. I got to get a hit, got to get a hit instead of trusting what you've done with your work and your team throughout the whole preseason. I think can go a far way and value and what is important is huge. Um, what have you been doing for your mental health recently as you have finished your college career?
Definitely. I think it's really important to set goals in order, just like you would physically for your mental health. And so, as I mentioned previously, so establishing visions and goals for the next year, I actually am carving out what I call my sacred 30. I found that I'm heavily triggered slash reliant on my device, and it can be a little unhealthy at times. And so I wanted to carve out, I call it like my sacred 30, where it's like I completely disconnect from my device. I go ground myself outside or get some fresh air. My goal is to like continue to read. I read a lot of like development and professional growth books and things of that nature. And so I have several kind of like checkpoints and goals that I try to make into micro goals throughout the year. So getting enough sleep, making sure that I take my lunch is actually like the silliest little thing, but sometimes I'm so productive. I work remote throughout the day that I forget to take, I was like, that's my time. So I think it's really important that you establish boundaries to have a healthy, like, and strong mental health balance in your life.
Yeah, that's huge. What books have you been reading lately, and what books would you recommend?
So I read a book called Leaders Eat Last that I really liked. So I'd highly recommend that one. I have a couple others that I got for Christmas, and I'm trying to remember what they were called, but I can't remember off the top of my head. And there was another one that Atomic Habits is just a classic. If you
That's
haven't
my
read
favorite
it,
of all time, Emma.
yes,
Come on,
I
speak
know.
speak
It's
the truth,
great.
I'm
girl. Speak the
Yes.
truth.
I'm rereading that book right now.
So good, Dave. Go
So,
ahead.
so great. So definitely like if you haven't, anybody listening, if you haven't gotten into just tapping into some of the greatest resources, like reading just opens up the mind and you're able to just disconnect for a little bit, and then in the whole realm of it, you're able to grow and see things from a different perspective. I just love being able to read. So
Great chair, great chair.
I agree. My last question, as we wrap up 2025, is there anything else you would like to say to our audience today that we may have missed?
hmm. You guys do a fantastic job in coverage of your episodes. I've can't say I've listened to every single one of them, but I've listened to a lot of them, and every
Thank you in
single
advance for
time,
that. Thank you.
of course, I love seeing people follow what they're passionate about and let nothing get in their way, and they just pursue their dreams. So I love what you guys are doing, and I love supporting you guys. Um, you guys cover such great stuff. But leaving 2025, maybe something we didn't cover. You want me to come from me? I'd say don't forget where you came from and remembering that keep remembering that like your value and self-worth, like that where that's you. Like that comes from you, and let nobody control that. I think that's super important. I know we hit it on it a little bit earlier, but that's all from you.
I'm glad you harped on that. Selfishly, Dave, I got two things I have to ask. One, I want you to shout out as many people as you can here while you're on the podcast because
Yeah.
your circle since dropping the episode promo has been incredible. Like people love you. So like
Thank
I want you
you.
to shout out significant others, family members, players,
Totally.
coaches. Go. The floor is all yours for the next
Oh
30 seconds.
gosh,
Yell them out.
yes. I got Scott Beyer, head coach at UW Oshkosh. I got Lynn Anderson was the assistant coach at the time, and now she's coaching at SIUE. My fiance, Michael Rinker, so supportive,
Congrats.
especially thank you with my coaching. My coaching staff currently, I'm so fortunate for our head coach Adam Ring and my other assistant Rob Chapman and our entire team. Go Firecracker Illinois Ring. I'm so fortunate for my family. I cannot thank my father, Paul Fionda, and my mother, Christine Fionda,
25
enough.
visits, Paul. You're a legend, brother. You're a
Yes, he
legend.
is. Uh, and my sister is so amazingly supportive of everything I do. And if I didn't have my family's support, I really couldn't coach. They take care of this little guy, Enzo, my little miniature
Oh
dachshund.
my goodness. Yes, for the YouTube. Give it
Yes,
to
so
me.
this is Enzo.
Oh my God.
So I'm so thankful for my sister Caitlin. And I have a wonderful circle of best friends. My best friend Kayla Conwent, she played at UW Wisconsin Madison, and my best friend Tawny, and my best friend Addie. I'm so fortunate for my circle. So
I love that. And I'm going to ask one more question because I'm selfish and we're coming up on time here. How did you come across the podcast? I think I know, but how did you get into our network?
yeah. So actually, one of my previous teammates, JT, she was
Thank
on the
God. I
podcast.
knew it was JT and I knew it, but I didn't know if I had to confirm it or not. You
Yeah.
have JT energy. Like you
Yeah.
remind me of
Oh,
JT.
thank you. Yeah, she's amazing. We played together for 3 years, from our sophomore year of high school through senior year. She's
Oh
so
my
awesome, and I
goodness.
love seeing her successes,
What a
coaching
blessing.
high school and just travel level. She's such a great role model, and ironically enough, 2 years ago we were both playing just pick up like co-ed slow pitch in Crystal Lake.
Sounds like
And
JT. Yeah.
yeah, and all of a sudden our teams are playing against one another, and I'm like, is that JT? And she's like, is that I'm not. And
There it
after the
is.
game, we reunited like we hadn't like literally missed a beat. Like it was amazing.
No,
So
what a
it's
blessing.
so
No,
awesome.
JT was at Rock Valley when I was there as a coach. She was
Okay.
playing.
Yeah.
And just amazing stuff. Like she had her episode, obviously. She was
Yeah.
fantastic. I want a shameless plug again. I want to have her sister on. Her sister actually got engaged the week I asked her to come on, so a lot was going on. So Jenna, if you're out there, get your butt
Yes,
on the podcast. We want to have you on too.
totally.
But no, shout out the Turner family. I thought that was how, but I
Mhm.
had to confirm with you. So you guys have the
Totally.
same energy, which I had a
Thank
feeling
you.
that was the case.
Thank you.
Of course. Well, that's what I got today. Big Dave, you're handsome as always, brother. It's great seeing you with that great backdrop. This has been a great episode today. Shout out Jackie. Shout out my wife for the beautiful setup she has me in now. 160 episodes in. We continue to do this, Dave. And Emma, it's because people like you, girl. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you
Emma,
for having me.
always a player, a coach, a fiance, a light in this world, not only in softball, but outside of it as well. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
Always, guys. Keep going.